Hey, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. I'm not going to mince words here. I first picked up the guitar when I was in grade school, and I really hadn't progressed very far since then. So I laid down the physical guitar and picked up air guitar right away, and that's about as good as it gets, folks. But in all seriousness, though, I think as a kid and then in my head as an adult, I probably have played more air guitar to Lynyrd Skynyrd than just about any band or musician that I've ever listened to. And I've listened to a lot. And so always been a Skynyrd fan. I've yet to see him in concert, but I hope to correct that this year. And I saw where Skynyrd was coming to my area of the country, which is East Tennessee. And through mutual connections, I was able to land an interview with Rickey Medlocke, and the lead singer, one of the lead singers and guitarist for the band. And so, what a thrill it was to be able to connect up with them and talk to them about a little bit about the career. There's so much to talk about. You can't possibly get everything crammed into the 30 or so minutes. I was privileged to speak with him, but we talked about this tour that they have going on with ZZ Top and about the music, the legacy of the band, the whole nine yards. I mean, gosh, I feel like I just barely even scratched the surface, if that. But what a thrill it was to talk with Rickey. I think you'll enjoy this interview. And if you would, please share it with your friends, especially if they're Skynyrd fans. Like it, hit the like button. Please subscribe to this channel, whichever channel you're watching or listening to this on. And please become a friend of Boomerocity. We'd love to see you here. So without any further ado, here is my first interview with Lynyrd Skynyrd's Rickey Medlocke. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson. Take care. Well, Rickey, thanks a million for joining me on this, man. This is a thrill.
My pleasure.
I think you've inspired me to play more air guitar than any other band in my life, so I can't play guitar worth a
Yeah,
dime,
I bet you are excellent at it.
Oh, you better watch out, man. I'll show anybody up on air guitar.
Oh, that's great, man.
I got quite the air guitar collection too. A lot of vintage stuff, a lot of one of a kind, all that stuff. Speaking of, how many guitars do you have, and is there a holy grail, and do you own it?
Oh, geez. I think right now at last count, when I counted everything up, and it's funny that you're saying this now, because I just started going through a lot of stuff, looking at stuff and writing it down and so forth and so on to keep track of it for my family and, the whole thing. And at last count, along with my grandfather, Shorty's, all his old vintage Gibson instruments and stuff like that, I think at last count, I had somewhere around 58 different instruments.
My goodness.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because I just talked to somebody and they were asking me, do you still, you have a guitar that's your favorite, and, and is it vintage, or is it made, or is it, and I, my answer to it is that I play all my vintage instruments. I don't like to leave them at home sitting in the closet, or stored away. I've got an original old Explorer that I play.
Wow.
And I've got actually got a prototype reverse body Firebird that was about one of about 9 or 10 made.
Whoa.
And then the production models came out. So I got it on the road playing it.
Seriously? Wow. I'd be scared of that.
I've got another reverse Firebird, a Firebird 5, or no, sorry, Firebird 3. It's on the road. I'm playing it.
My goodness.
You know what, man? I got Les Pauls up the yin yang, and the thing is, I quit collecting guitars. I figured, you know what, man? I got enough that could choke a mule, man. I don't need no more,
Spoken like a true Southern boy. Where are you dialing in from? Where are you dialing in from? Florida?
I'm actually no. I'm calling in from actually Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm up here doing a side project, and you know, I like to my a couple of my relatives and my better half loves to say I've got a problem of being bored too easy, and I got too much energy, and I like to stay going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a little side project that I'm doing right now, which is cool. And I do it, just in between when Skynyrd's off because I got to keep busy.
I hear you. I'm the same way.
I love to play music, and I've been on the road so long all my life. When the band goes to come off the road, I go, "Oh God, here we go." I dread coming off the road, and I guess I'm an old war horse. You know what I mean?
It gets in your blood. You can't get it out. So,
hey, if Keith Richards can do it, I can do it.
That's right. That's right. And it appears like you've taken better care of yourself than he has. So it's
well, I stopped the indulgence many years ago, and
that Indian blood in you too, man.
Yeah, that's another thing. So
I got a little bit of Cherokee, but not as much as you do, I don't think. Yeah.
Well, something, man. I figured, if I wanted to last in this business in this lifetime, I had to change a lot up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got up one day and I looked in the mirror and I didn't really like who I was looking at. So
hey, that's my life every day now. So it's just called time, So by the way, before we get going on talking about the tour and stuff, I want to say I've had the privilege of interviewing one of your bandmates several times. He's not the one I've interviewed the most, but he's close, and that's Damon Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, great. I mean, I was thrilled to hear that he was joining you guys. He was thrilled to be joining you guys. I interviewed him about a year and a half or so ago, and
right.
Interviewed him 5 or 6 times. Ever since I interviewed him the first time when he was still with Alice, and then Thin Lizzy and all that stuff since then. But
right.
But great guitar player. I've watched the video of you guys jamming together, and wow, what a treat and thrill it is to watch that happen.
It's been a real honor and pleasure having him come in at a time when we were just really beside ourselves, and it's been almost a year now since we lost Gary, and I'm still not real settled with it yet. I still have problems with it. I'm sure that people goes, "Oh, come on, Rickey, it's done, it's get over it." But you know what, man? I'm a guy that holds the heart, relationships and past relationships. And you know what? This is going to be something that's going to take me quite a few years to ever really settle with, because I knew him when we were teenagers. I played with him in the band in the early years for 2.5, going on 3 years as a drummer. And then all of a sudden to come back in 96, now I'm going on 30 years. I've been back with the band, and he was a constant with me. He was there. And I was like, God, he's never going to go nowhere good. He'll be with me until the last. And I promised him even, I said, Gary, I'll be with you until the last note in Freebird is struck. And now it's kind of surreal, but I know he's there in spirit with us, and I can't say enough about Damon. I mean, he has come in a time when it was really difficult, and he has just really put a shining light on it, and he's done an incredible job. And I'm happy. I'm proud of the boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I last time I talked to him, we were talking about that. I said, Damon, think about this. You're living every schoolboy's dream, every wannabe guitar player's dream. I mean, you've played with Alice, played with Thin Lizzy, and now, holy crap, you're playing with Skynyrd. I mean, who else? Who's next? The Stones, Beatles? I mean, I don't know.
Right. I mean, well, when Gary decided that he was not going to go out with us and was not going to continue, Johnny got on the phone with me and we had a conversation. And Johnny said to me, Rickey, it looks like, Gary's not going to go out on the road with us. You got a suggestion of anybody that you can think that can come in and do this? I said, yep, I do. I said, I only know 2 people. One of them is already busy playing. And I said, the other one I think is there in Nashville sitting at home. And he goes, well, who would that be? I went, Damon Johnson. And he went, oh my God, you're right. I said, Johnny, if anybody can come in and cop those parts that Gary played and basically try to sound like him, and so I said, it's Damon Johnson. I said, he did it with Thin Lizzy. He did it with Alice Cooper, with every, those bands. And I went, he did an incredible job. So I called Damon and I said, Damon, I got a pretty serious question to ask you, and I went through it and he was like, wow, are you kidding me? I went, nope, not kidding. So we had 3 days of rehearsal. He came in the first day and it was a little, he was a little unsure of himself in certain areas, and so forth. But boy, by the 3rd day, man, we were clicking and we were popping it. So you know what? He and I have a load of fun on stage together. And I don't know, it's just a real privilege and a real honor to have him in the band.
Do you find that, I mean, I talk, with what I do, I hear it all from fans and all that. And I mean, there's still people think the Rolling Stones shouldn't be the Rolling Stones since Brian Jones died. So, and you're never going to satisfy those people. But what has fan feedback been since Gary's passing? And, Damon's got the big shoes to fill there and all that. I mean, from where I sit, it seems like people are still welcoming you guys and thrilled to still be seeing you instead of calling. I mean, I hear other bands being called, cover bands, tribute bands, whatever. What are you hearing from the stage?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. If I can rewind a little bit, Gary had made statements, and not once, not twice, but several times. And he made them in private with us, and he made them, around other people. It wasn't, but he made statements about he never wanted to see the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd fade away like a lot of other, bands, that he never wanted to see the brand name fade out into oblivion, and nothing be there with it, It was Gary's wishes. It truly was. It was his wishes for the band to continue. And we knew that. And his widow, Dale Rossington, she stated that. So after Gary's passing, there was a lot of, as you can imagine, there was a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions, and even Johnny and I several times, So when we decided to take and go forward, we knew that there was going to be blowbacks from, some people. But look here, at the end of the day, man, Johnny's been there for, oh my God, since 1987. Okay. Singing for his brother. Okay. Mm-hmm. And here's a guy, iconic writer, singer, legend. Here's Johnny coming in, filling these shoes. And in my opinion, Johnny has done the most incredible, phenomenal job I could imagine anybody ever doing. Okay. Then, we looked at it and we said, okay, let's go out here. I've been in the band before, and I've got a really cool video of Gary on video. Gary one time made a video kind of putting the squash on a lot of stuff that he was reading on the internet about me not being an original guy, and people just bashing it. And and Gary went on video and we posted it up in a lot of places.
I saw it.
Where Gary said, look, we've always considered Rickey an original guy. Mm-hmm. He was with the band. He recorded with the band. He was signed to the band. He wrote songs with us. He sang songs with us in the Muscle Shoals albums. He goes, we can always consider Rickey an original member of the Grand. In fact, a formidable member before Leon and way before Artemis was there.
Mhm.
So we looked at it in that way. Look, Johnny and I are there. Johnny and I, we kind of command it, and now, that we're there and we're going to be there until we decide, hey, time's come. It's time to hang up our guns and, let's do whatever. But that's not going to be anytime soon.
Doesn't
Knock
look
on
like it.
wood. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
That's right. That's right. Well, all I got to say to the detractors is, hey, tell all the people filling out stadiums that they're wrong. Go right ahead. I'll stand back, eat the popcorn, and watch you while you do it. That's just,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, every night when you walk out there in front of, 23, 25, 30,000 people, and they're there right through the end of Freebird. If you can tell me that we're wrong, then you can say we're wrong, whatever, and just go away. You know what I mean?
So you've been at this for 50 years. Do you think it's a career you want to stay with? 50 years. I mean, come on. That's amazing. That's amazing. What
you can't imagine me being a doctor or a lawyer now, right?
Well, that'd almost be scary. So,
Yeah.
what are the biggest, best, and worst changes you've seen in this business in those 50 years?
Well, I think one of the biggest changes has been in the music industry itself.
Yeah.
I feel for these guys going out here and trying to have what you say success in the record industry. There is no more record industry.
That's right.
Everything is by downloads and streams and, so forth and so on. I was able to hold, thankfully in my life, I was able to hold a platinum record and, in a big plaque and put it on my wall and, be proud of my accomplishments and what I've done. Nowadays, I think the plaques are like that.
Yeah.
And they got a million downloads or, whatever. And I think about the young guys out here or young gals out here trying their best to have success. And I actually feel bad for them because I think it's a lot more difficult because you have got tons of people out here beating the streets, beating their heads against the wall, trying to have that success. The really, really talented ones, I guess, shine through at some point, but there are really, really talented people that just can't somehow get that break.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the biggest change is the record industry that I've seen, in this bit, and radio. Radio changed tremendously.
It's dying.
So
Yeah.
altogether, the music industry, I think, is the biggest change as far as that goes. The good part about it is that I think people are still able have the freedom to come out and listen to good music and join together, no matter what denomination you are or what political belief you are or what color you are or whatever. I love that because they all are in the celebration of music.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody forgets their blues and everybody forgets their troubles and everybody forgets, the things going on around them outside of the arena.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they all come together and they all have a great time and they leave with smiles on their faces and having you know what? When I see that, man, I went out there, I gave it 110% and it happened, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that.
That's what's amazing about what you and your peers do. Yeah. And why I do what I do is to celebrate that.
Right.
Especially from our generation. Right. And
Correct.
To me, we had the best music, have the best music. You
Oh,
guys are
yeah.
still cranking it out. A lot of people putting out new stuff. And I just think it's the best generation when it comes to music. And speaking of that, your peers, you're touring, you're going to be coming through where I'm at. I'm in East Tennessee. I'm up in the Smoky Mountains. You
Yes,
guys are
sir.
going to be doing a big old show in Knoxville with the little band from Texas. Tell me about
Little
that.
band from Texas.
That's
Yeah.
right. Talk to me about it. What?
Well, we hooked up last year together, and we did several months out, and we did from July into October together. And you know what? It's always good to be with Billy and Frank and company. Our crew got along together with their crew. We got along together with each band. I mean, it was a camaraderie that was just absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so successful in terms of ticket sales and, everything, that we decided, hey, we should just continue this, because you got two of the greatest classic bands of all time coming to an arena. There should be no problem in people getting out to see this. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So we decided, I guess it was decided early on in March and April, kind of a cabin fever tour, people wanting to have something to do.
That's right.
It was decided early on, hey, let's go out for 2 months, do the arenas. We'll take a short break, and then we'll be back out in July, right at the end of October again, and have at it,
Mm-hmm.
So here we come.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it. Dude, one thing I was curious about, you guys have some of the biggest iconic hits ever. And I know iconic and icon is often overused. Heck, I overuse it for people, but it just seems to fit for certain ones in the genre, right? And so, some very, very big anthem type songs. You've heard people yell Freebird forever. I think it's a rite of passage for somebody to get drunk and yell Freebird whenever there's live music somewhere, right? But to me, I think those, Freebird and Simple Man and, all the other hits, those are huge, and they burn into the soundtrack of my youth and my adulthood even. I'm just curious, do you have any stories or a story that kind of talks to one of those songs, as far as a happy story, somebody telling something about what the song meant, and a story behind one of those songs, anything you can share along those lines?
Well, after being in the band this long, you have people come through. You meet people at the airport, or you meet people at Starbucks, or you meet people at the Walmart, or your favorite shopping place, or you meet people in the meet and greet lines at the shows. And, they all have, that's what's amazing. They all have a special story and memory of either Freebird or Sweet Home Alabama. And the one that really sticks out to me is Freebird, because Freebird has either been played at a wedding, or it's been played at a funeral for a loved one. It's been played at, I've even heard the stories of birth of a baby. And yeah. And
Wow.
I mean, there are so many, so many incidences where I've heard all of them. And when I think about it, just that one line, just the one line at the beginning of Freebird, if I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Mm-hmm. That line captures so many incidences and occasions that it's hard to even put into words, really, what that song really means to everybody. I mean, it means their heart. You know what I mean? It comes from their heart. And I got to tell you, think about it. For a young man as young as Ronnie was, he spoke like an old soul.
Yeah, he did.
He knew, listen, I've said this so often. He was such a great Southern poet. He was the greatest Southern poet of our time that ever lived. And you know what? I worked with him. I was next to him. I rode many miles with him, in the early years. And my granddaddy, Shorty, old blues guy, and in his own right, and had a little bit of success along his way. You know what? He even recognized it about Ronnie.
Wow.
He said, there's something special about that boy. He said, he's going to do something in his life. Well, boy, he did.
Yep.
And, my old man was special enough to Ronnie that Ronnie took my dad's inspiration and wrote Curtis Lowe, dedicated the Nothing Fancy record to him, and a song Made in the Shade to my dad. And you know what? Let's go to Tuesday's Gone. Tuesday's Gone. Now, speaking of that, we do a great big tribute to Gary up on the great big video wall. And to this day, I can't watch it. Right. And to this day, see, the song to me meant my mom's memory, because my mama used to love that song. And her favorite in the band, I think, even outweighed me as her son. Her favorite in the band was Gary. She just used to think Gary was just so sweet and just, And so now when we play it, I get to think about both of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of those songs, man, mean a lot of different things, and just, boy, how iconic the whole thing is, from start to finish.
Yep. I think so. I mean,
yeah,
because my problem is that when I have Freebird, especially one of your live versions going, and I'm in the car, that whole air guitar thing I mentioned at the beginning, it's usually not a good idea to try to do that while I'm driving. But hey, I've been guilty of doing that a time or two.
Yeah, man.
But, so, to that point, I was curious. I mean, what is it, 12 minutes long that typically is? Has there ever been, let me put it a different way, on stage, rocking it out at the end with Freebird? To your knowledge, what's the longest that you've done that song? And maybe you got carried away with the solos and the crowd is just, has there been a point where you went well beyond, say, that 12 to 14 minute period?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I played drums with the guys, the original version was about 14 minutes long.
Wow. Yeah.
And now we're doing it about 12 and a half to 13 minutes.
Okay.
So, I got to tell you, believe me, my hands can tell you all about it.
I bet. I bet your calluses are permanent now, right? I mean, they go to the bone.
Oh, yeah.
To the bone.
Yeah, I've got a dent in one of my fingers, man, right down the middle.
So, just as a side note, you foresee doing anything with Blackfoot anytime in the future?
Well, just as a side note, I do have a thing out on a little label called Rock the Cause, where I am donating money to the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. All the proceeds go to that. If you go to the website, rickymedlocke.com, you can read all about it, what I'm doing. The song is called Never Run Out of Road. And I just like to have little side projects that I can do, man, to keep myself in music and keep myself playing. But you know what? When the time comes and the call comes, I'm back in Skynyrd, and I'll always be there. That's where my loyalty lies,
Very cool. Well, what's left undone that you haven't done yet musically? What would you like to do that's still on your list?
I would love to be able to climb on stage and play with Clapton.
There you go.
Yep.
Cool.
Maybe one day.
Hey, that would be awesome. Awesome.
You got it, brother.
Final question. When you step off of the great tour bus of life up at the great gig in the sky, to borrow from Pink Floyd, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is? I know you've been asked it a million times, but I'd like to ask it of you.
I would just like people to remember me as, being a good guy, and, that I was at least cordial to everybody and friendly to everybody, and that I played a halfway decent guitar. And I hope that when I step off that bus, I see my granddaddy and my Shorty and my grandma, Nita, who, thank God for them, they saved my life. And I'd like to be able to see Ronnie and Alan and Gary and hope they shake my hand instead of punch me in the face or something, you know?
I think they'll be hugging your neck, man.
Yeah, man.
That's for sure. Well, hey, Rickey, thanks a million. I'll see you in
You're
Knoxville.
welcome.
And my door's open to you anytime you want to plug something, okay?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.